Ben, thanks for joining me. To start, how does hydrogen fuel compare to other clean energy fuels, and why is hydrogen likely to emerge the winner in your view?
Sure, thanks, Alex. So realistically, there's a few different options in the market that are coming up. So the more prevalent one at the moment is battery electric, and the battery electric technology is a great technology in the fact that it's efficient in the cost of the fuel, but realistically, it's a very heavy application as well. So as soon as you start putting loads of batteries into a heavy haul truck, you're cutting down on the main purpose of the truck, which is obviously hauling payload. Realistically, to get across that problem, we've played more into the hydrogen fuel cell products. And in turn, with the hydrogen fuel cell technology, we don't have to stack as many heavy batteries into the vehicle, which at the end of the day increases the payload for the vehicle. There's no drawbacks to it at the end of the day because we can drive the vehicle at 100 kilometres fully laden without any setbacks. The customer's happy because they get their payload advantage. And in terms of refueling between the two different technologies, I guess everyone's aware now that it takes time to charge electric vehicles as opposed to hydrogen and fuel, where we can use it in two different options. We can have liquid hydrogen and we can have gaseous hydrogen. So gaseous hydrogen is available now. I've set a timer against the refueling of these products, and you can imagine a truck's refueling takes a little bit of time. So the refueling of these vehicles is around 15 minutes, probably at the longest.
Thanks, Ben. So what is your strategy to scale up commercialisation in Australia and overseas? And what initiatives are you looking to adopt as a means to expanding your footprint?
At the moment, we've got discussions happening in Australia to try and play into the local manufacturing economy, to provide some more local jobs, to obviously have a little bit more of engineering capability locally in Australia. But also, too, we have a lot of free trade agreements between different countries, which allow us to access into those countries, but use the labour force within Australia. So we're trying to support the Australian economy as much as possible with our vehicle types. And we're currently in conversation with governments in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria to set up manufacturing capabilities. Our first step here is to set up a micro hub, what we call a micro hub manufacturing plant, and that's a SKD, which is semi-knockdown type manufacturing facility that will take a whole heap of assemblies, assemble the vehicle, we'll do all the quality management, quality control, and then we'll send the vehicles overseas and deploy also in Australia and overseas markets as well. So we can grow a business fairly well with overseas deployments because the markets are so much bigger, right? So in Australia, I think our footprint of vehicles over 4.5 tonne are around 54,000 vehicles a year sold into Australia, and then overseas in the markets like USA is more like 540,000 and Europe is more like 340,000. So there's definitely a big role to play overseas, and what we'd look at doing as well is setting up other micro hub manufacturing facilities in these areas to also play into their local manufacturing streams, but still being supported by the Australian manufacturing stream, which is scalable.
Thanks, Ben. Now, I understand you're currently manufacturing in Asia. How does HDrive's current manufacturing and distribution strategy provide a major advantage? And in your view, what would be the catalyst to expanding your manufacturing to be set up more local to your relevant markets in Australia and the United States?
Yeah, so I guess if I go way back in my career, I've been involved in a lot of manufacturing businesses in Australia. Automotive manufacturing businesses have had a lot of success stories and a lot of failure stories as well. You see the roll-up of Toyota, you see the roll-up of Holden and Ford in Australia in their manufacturing plants, and realistically it's because of the global market. People need to have value for money for their vehicles, okay? And with Australia's high labour cost and prices there, I think it's unrealistic to have large-scale manufacturing here in Australia and still have a vehicle at a good competitive price against other international brands. So what we've done here is, instead of setting up full-scale manufacturing of every single component that goes into the vehicle, we just do sub-assembly manufacturing in Australia. So the vehicle is still assembled in Australia, and we also set up micro hubs overseas for that as well. But we can control the amount of labour and labour time and things that go into it, so it's not overpricing the vehicle out of the market as well.
Thanks, Ben. And just finally, when it comes to commercial vehicles, the US HFC EV market in particular is dominated by Nikola and Hyzon. How do your vehicles stack up against those larger brands? And what is your point of difference?
Yeah, sure. So, there's some very good brands being rolled out in the US at the moment. You see that there's no major OEMs like Mercedes-Benz and Volvo and Scania and other well-known brands sort of being rolled out over there. And realistically, it's because they're focused on their current models and obviously running them through their timelines to ensure that they claw back some cash for the development costs on them. More agile vehicle manufacturers in the market are the new startups, right? So I take an example from Tesla, who became a well-known brand overnight, also to BYD in Australia, who became a well-known brand. And these brands saw a gap in the market. They have product that works in the market, and they're able to bring their vehicles successfully into the market and make a well-known brand successful. So that's what we're looking and aiming to do with HDrive as well. We have products that work in many different vehicle segments, and we're bringing them to market. Now, some of the vehicle manufacturers, which would be our competitors in those known market, like Nikola and Hyzon, the key differences between our vehicles and their vehicles is our vehicle is designed and manufactured from the ground up. Okay, so it's not taking someone else's vehicle and repowering it and bringing it to the market quickly. We've designed our vehicle from the ground up with some of the world's leading component suppliers who've had 100 years, 60 years, 40 years in the market supplying to some of the large OEMs with separate components like axles and suspensions and drive motors and battery systems. So realistically, we've now got a whole vehicle from nose to tail that is designed and manufactured under our specification. And the benefits of that is that we can set the vehicle up exactly how we want it, weight it exactly how we need to weight the vehicle so that we can ensure the front axle masses aren't overloaded, the rear axle masses are in the right place, that the vehicle stability and dynamics sort of working hand in hand also with the new technology drive motors and systems that are within the vehicle. It's kind of not just a repowering of an existing vehicle, it's a whole ground up type assembly process.
Thanks, Ben. Really appreciate you taking the opportunity to chat with me today. All the best.
Thank you very much.